Thanks for listening to my podcast. I will be talking about the Great Depression and Roaring Twenties. First off, what was the Roaring Twenties? Well, there were flappers, women who took on the new fashions and rights of the 18th Amendment. For music, jazz was very popular, and speakeasies held illegal liquor, which came from gangsters like Babyface Nelson and the most notorious of them all, Al Capone, often called Public Enemy Number 1. Also, modern products freed women of chores like gas stove, baby food, and the like. WSB was a radio station started in Atlanta, and life looked good in the Great Depression, especially considering that in 1927, Charles Lindbergh became the first person to fly non-stop from New York to Paris in 33.5 hours. However, many farms had to foreclose because farms suffered the boll weevil, which ate cotton, and the drought, which killed cotton in 1925. However, there were fatal flaws in the Roaring Twenties. For one, most products were bought using loans because that was natural back then, and people would loan money from the bank so they could invest in the stock market. But this wasn't good for the economy because if the economy crashed, the banks wouldn't be able to get their money back. However, on Tuesday, October 29, 1929, which was known as Black Tuesday, stock prices fell off a cliff and people were left with less money than they had. This means that they couldn't pay the loan back, banks collapsed, and inflation destroyed the economy, meaning that people wouldn't be able to buy products because everybody wanted to save their money so that their money would be worth more, so workers were laid off, leaving less and less people to actually work because they were too busy saving their money, which meant that the economy ground to a standstill, and that caused 1 in 4 working Americans to be unemployed, and the Dust Bowl left millions of people in the Great Plains to migrate to California, where life was much better. However, Franklin Delano Roosevelt overwhelmingly won the 1932 election against Herbert Hoover with the phrase, "I pledge you, I pledge myself to a deal for the American people." To do this, he made programs that brought relief, recovery, and reform. One of the first things he did was close all banks and check for soundness so that people would trust the economy. Around the same time, there was the Tennessee Valley Authority, which built dams to improve poor areas by providing electricity and water grounding. This caused Blue Ridge Lake, Lake Chautauqua, and Lake Nottely to form. The Civilian Conservation Corps helped put out of work people into work, and the Rural Electrification Act gave power to rural areas, which was based on how FDR realized how the bill in Warm Springs, Georgia, where the Little White House was. He went there because for his polio, which improved, was 5 times more than at his mansion at Hyde Park. The Agricultural Adjustment Act provided subsidies to help farmers who didn't produce as many crops. However, this only helped regular farmers, not tenant farmers who were disproportionately black. Other programs included the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, which insured up to $100,000 per account in banks, regained trust, and the Social Security Administration, which gave pensions to old people and the unemployed. The governors that ran during this time in Georgia were Richard Russell, who combined 102 government agencies into only 17 agencies, created a board of regents for all schools, and ran Georgia like a business. Eugene Talmadge often spent money on highways, was a conservative white supremacist, highly opposed the New Deal at first, and fired anyone who opposed him. However, once he got reelected, he softened his anti-Roosevelt stance, but had all the universities in Georgia lose their accreditation for firing people who supported integration of schools. Then there's Eunice Rivers, who supported the New Deal, and Ellis Arnold, who was the first governor to have a 4-year term and not only removed the governor from major powers, but also abolished the poll tax in 1945. Thanks for listening.